yesterday we did variables and types. So today we do functions, and honestly this is where Kotlin starts feeling really different from other languages. We are going to go through 5 concepts and write actual code for each one, and do 3 challenges at the end, and I promise by the end of this video you are going to be writing functions in a way that feels clean and satisfying. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so first up we have basic function declaration. The keyword in Kotlin is fun, not function, not def, not just fun. Already better, right? So we type it out as fun greet, a string hey bint 43 c double, right? We use all these parameters inside inside our functions while declaring it, right? Okay, so we will get to the default values in a second, right? Focus on the structure first. Fun, function name, then your parameters inside parentheses with name and type syntax, right? Name first and type will be second always. And notice no curly braces, no return keyword. That equal sign means that this is a single expression function. We will talk about that properly in a second. So let's type it out completely and we will test it once it's done. While we can also have default parameter values, just to let you know that the output will be 3 calls, 3 different outputs, right? So first one will be I passed a custom string, right? Second one, I only changed B and skipped A and C entirely. I passed nothing third one, I passed nothing at all and got the defaults, right? That's function declaration. Default parameters and named arguments all in one. Let me break down each one properly, right? Now let's talk about one of the most powerful and concise features of Kotlin, which is single expression functions. So in Kotlin, if a function contains only a single expression, you don't need to use curly braces or even explicitly write the return type in many cases. This makes your code shorter and easier to read. So the basic syntax will look like fun, function name, parameters, and then we use equal to expression. So instead of writing a whole full function body with curly braces and a return statement, we simply use an equal sign followed by the expression. So Kotlin automatically returns the result of that expression. So let's look at a simple example. And also this is my favorite thing in Kotlin, because we can see fun add a int, b int, c int. We have the parameters inside this, right? You can see it clearly, a plus b, b plus c. So that's the whole function. When your function body is literally just one expression, you skip the curly braces and the return keyword and just use equals. Kotlin figures out the return types itself, right? So we can see we have written the read line. So we have used read line here because we want input from the user, right? And also we are reading 3 numbers from the users, adding them with our function, printing the result, right? We have used exclamation after read line because it just means that we are asserting the input is not null. When we are asserting the input, it is not null. We will cover null safety on a later day, right? So let's just type it in 3 numbers and boom, it will come up clean. And look at how readable it will be. Add num1, num2, num3 as compared to writing the logic in line. That's the whole point of functions. You name the operation, you reuse it, and you don't repeat yourself. That's why single expression works for anything that's one line. Math, string building, comparisons, conditions. If it fits one line, then it should be in one line. Now let's get back to default parameters. So Now let's understand the default parameters in Kotlin, which actually makes the functions more flexible and reduce the need for multiple function overloads. In Kotlin, you can assign default value to function parameters directly in the function declaration. So this would mean that if the caller does not provide a value for that parameter, then the default value will be used automatically. And the basic syntax will look like, for default parameter will be function name parameters, then its type, and then we will put the default type. Then later on we can add the function body. So let's take a look at the example. So default parameters, I already showed you one example, but let's go deeper. So we have fun, honestly, a string, that's what I talked about, parameters, right? And then we have the value, the default value, hey Usopp, b is int 28, right? You can see it, a. Then we have the equal to sign, just like how we use in single expression. So we have $a, $b, that's what it means when we are returning it, right? When we have to call it. Then we have fun main, val op, then readline when we want the input from the user, then println and honestly op. And then what we have done here is we have passed the value for a and b use its default 28. So we never had to specify it. Now why does this matter? Because in Java, if you wanted a function that could be called with or without certain arguments, you had write multiple overloaded versions of the same function, same name, different parameters list, and same logic copied 3 times, which is, horrible, right? So in Kotlin, what we can do is one function assign default values where it makes sense, and that's done. Now let's take a look at named arguments. We already saw these in action, right? So let's actually focus on them. We have fun, row, name, string, hola, age, int, and let's take a look at this. And right now we are calling with no arguments, so everything is default. But watch what happens when I want to only one change at one thing. When I want to only one change one thing, right? Then modify the call. I can pass the argument in any order as long as I name them, right? So that works perfectly. Kotlin matches by name, not position, okay? And why does this matter? Because you have no idea without looking at the function signature, right? Named arguments are a kind of documentation at the call site. So use them whenever you have multiple parameters. Okay, so now let's take a look at extension functions. Okay, so this is the one that makes people go that, wait, you can do that? And honestly, yeah, the first time you see it, it feels a bit little illegal, right? So basically what's the idea is, the idea is simple. You take an existing type, it could be a string, it could be an int, it could be literally anything, and you add a new function to it without subclassing it, without modifying the original code, and without touching the class itself. You just extend it. That's why they are called extension functions. So let's take a look at this example, that fun string, we have taken fun string gg. So whenever we see that, right, so we always write the syntax in extension function as fun class name dot function name, which means that the class name is where we put the data type, and then we put the function name of our choice. Now if I run this and type something like this, then this will be the output, right? As you can see. So what just happened is we added a .gg function to every string, at least within this file, and this function, the keyword this refers to is actually a string value, and the function is being called on. And same with the another example. Now if I run this and input a number, say anything, right, it applies the whole expression, yeah, right? The math is completely random for now, but that's not the point. The point is that now every integer has an add method, and again this refers to the integer itself. So we take this so this basically means that take this number and apply the formula, and we can actually use this because this is because in the real world code this becomes very powerful. Imagine you are working with strings and you keep writing the same validation logic again and again. So here are the couple of things that you should know. First, extension functions don't actually modify the class. They only look like they do actually change, but under the thing, back of the thing, Kotlin just treats them as a regular function. Second, that they are resolved at compile time, not runtime, which means they don't override existing methods. And the third thing is that they cannot access private or protected members of the class, only public ones. Alright, so let's do it's a challenge time. Now, three challenges. These are the ones that you should actually be doing yourself, but I'm just going to walk through you, right? So, challenge 1. Now, we have fun main println greet guest, println greet, hello Sasuke, println greet. So, let's run this. Now, let's look at what's happening here. So there are three function calls, which first is greet guest, which we are explicitly passing the value guest, so the output becomes hello guest. And second is greet hello Sasuke. Now we pass completely a different string, right? So the function just uses the value directly and prints hello Sasuke, right? So, and the third one, which is greet, just greet. So this is the most interesting one. We pass no argument, so Kotlin uses a default value here, which is guest automatically, and again we get hello guest. So what are we doing here? Two things combined. That first, default parameters. If you don't pass a value, Kotlin uses the default, right? Second, single expression functions. No curly braces, no return keyword, just one clean line, right? We can see it here. So this is a classic pattern that you will use a lot. So it was short, readable and flexible. So exactly that's how Kotlin is meant to be written. Alright, so let's take a look at challenge 2, and we have to use single expression function here, and let's do it. Fun add radius double 3.14159, right? Multiply radius into radius, fun main. Then we have val radius, read line 2 double, println add and then radius, right? We can see here. So when we run this and enter something like 5.0 or whatever we want to. Now what's happening here? We are calculating the area of circle using the formula pi multiplied by radius squared. So 3.14159 into r, and we have written the entire function in just one line. That's a single expression function again, right? No curly braces, no return keyword. Kotlin automatically returns it. That's the result of that expression. So then in main we take input from the user. So whatever the user inputs, right, it gets converted into a double, then stored in radius and then passed into the function. Then we print the results. So one small note that the function name here is add, which doesn't really describe what it's doing, right? In real code, you had named this something like circle area because naming matters. Your function should clearly tell what it does. So you are combining the user input with a single expression function to perform a calculation in a clean, compact way, right? So that's a simple logic, clean code, right? That's exactly what Kotlin does, and it's actually intelligent. Alright, so let's take a look at challenge 3 and let's do it. Fun string is palindrome, this equal to this dot result. Why? Because let's run it and it just prints true, right? It will be print true. So this one is probably the cleanest of all three. We have created an extension function or string called is palindrome. So now every string in this program can directly call dot is palindrome as if it's a built-in method. Inside the function, this refers to the actual string we are calling it on. And that's it. Try challenging the input as race car or hello, right? You will immediately see that how it works. This is exactly what extension functions are designed for. Taking simple logic and attaching it directly to types in a way that feels natural and readable. So that's it for the video. So function declarations, single expression functions, default parameters, named arguments, extension function. We have covered all 5 concepts, right? And all of them are connected. So the big takeaway today is like Kotlin rewards you for writing less expression functions, less, right? Single expression functions, default parameters. It basically rewards you for writing less. So they all exist. So your code says exactly what it does without any extra noise. And for day 3, we are going to do control flow, if expression, when, loops, and in Kotlin, if is not a statement, it's an expression that returns a value which changes how you write condition completely. So, like the video if this helped you, and subscribe so you can catch on, and drop a comment with your challenge 3 output. Did Madame get back true? See you tomorrow. Goodbye.